Well, once upon a time, the high street was the centre of any community, alive with the bustle of shoppers and traders. But with the rise of giant supermarkets and enormous out-of-town shopping centres, not to mention the internet, less than half of all consumer spending now goes to town centres. So in steps David Cameron's special envoy, Mary, Queen of Shops, Mary Portas. She's just presented a package of recommendations to ministers. These include plans to hold a national market day, relaxing licensing rules on street stalls. She also wants free car parking in certain areas and a high street management system to form coherent policy, plus a review of business rates and shop rents.
It's about creating a new reason to go to your high street. So what I'm looking at is how we can free up what are in effect very outdated ways of running the high street. Whilst this kind of new consumerism has arisen with out of town, the poor old high street's been neglected. There hasn't been a vision for it. There hasn't been, how do we compete and create something new? So what I'm suggesting is that we actually look at our high streets in a different way. Instead of saying it's just got to be about shopping, because who wrote that rule book, let's look at creating multifunctional social and shopping high streets.
Well, joining me now from Northampton is Hussein Lalani, co-founder of the 99p Stores Group. And here in the studio are the retail expert, Professor Jeremy Baker, and the entrepreneur, Michelle Dewberry. Welcome to you all. If I could start with you, Mr. Lalani. I suppose every cloud has a silver lining. The big gainers in the death of the high street, to a certain extent, has been that there are more and more pound shops and indeed 99p shops.
That's right. We have benefited in some ways from the recession, and that's partly the change in consumer attitude. Everybody, has accepted discount stores as a normal part of life. And that's one thing I'll say is our high streets are not dying, they're actually evolving, they're changing. And, shops like mine are a permanent fixture on the high street from now on.
And what you're talking about is very good value, cheap products. And indeed, in the present recession, I understand you're also expanding your food business.
That's right. We've expanded our food business. We now do frozen food, we do chilled food, we do fresh meat, vegetables, and we're in fact expanding overseas. We've opened our first store in Ireland, and we're opening 2 more this week there.
Are you in fact really the latest manifestation of the dreaded supermarket, in fact, because you sell everything, so not much good for the other shops around you?
That's right. We are. Our aim is to become a one-stop shop. And I guess why people come to us is because we do offer good value, and somehow we manage to undercut the big supermarkets.
Do you think outside of your stores and stores like them, there is much future for the supermarket, for the high street?
I think there is a future for the high street, but we have to accept there are going to be some changes. Everybody complains that, the high streets are looking too similar across the country. But that's because people like the same products, We all like the same fashion brands or the same fast food restaurants, so you will get those popping up everywhere. But, good town centre planning should allow for more individual stores and independent retailers to also operate along the same high streets. And I think it's all about planning and having a space for the big brands, having a space for retail parks, having a space for markets. I think markets, that one idea from Mary Portas is fantastic. We should promote street markets.
What about parking? How important is that?
Parking, I think everybody has an opinion on parking, and everybody will agree that there are too many restrictions on parking. And instead of penalising the retail parks, why don't we start freeing up town centres, having cheaper parking and maybe less militant parking attendants?
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Lalani. What do you think of Mary Portas' ideas, Michelle?
I think it is sad. I think the high street, it is, if you want to call it declining, changing, whatever, it's not what it once was. And part of that is very sad, but part of that, it is about evolution. It has to change. I know when I was a teenager, my entire weekends were spent, you'd get your friends and you'd go into town, and it'd become an entire day out looking around the shops, even if we had no money to spend. It was a lot of fun. But things do need to change, and I think Mary Portas has got lots of ideas. I think things like the parking, that is a nightmare. You don't want to carry stuff and then start getting on the bus or wandering around when your car is miles away. I also think there's lots of things that could be more innovative in the high street. There's an example I found in Brighton very recently where there's a huge store that was empty for lots of time, and the landlord there, what she'd actually done is, instead of kind of keeping it empty, she'd opened it up to local residents and said to these people, you can have a portion of this store as long as you commit to working one shift and you can sell your products. And it's a fantastic community store now. Lots of different products, lots of different choice, no staffing, very little overheads, because the stall keepers are actually staff members too.
Jeremy Baker, is this even the question we should be asking ourselves, whether to
No,
save
it's a
the high
complete
street?
waste of time, actually. Retail is moving ahead fast. It's absolutely wonderful. People enjoy shopping. They just don't enjoy going to the high street, which is, when we had a horse, was the natural place to go. We don't use horses. What we want is online. We want to drive to out of town where there's a huge amount of choice. Or perhaps we want 5 minutes walk away.
Things like the 99
No, much
shops.
closer than that. No, it's got to be 5 minutes to cut out the bother, the low price of going to the Tesco. A high street just doesn't fit within that. It really is an out-of-date concept.
So what would you do
We should
with
write
high
them a letter
streets?
and say, thank you, dear high street. You've done a wonderful job for the last 200 years. Goodbye.
But high streets could be made to be more of a destination, and I think this is one of the things, Mary, like, if you didn't just get your chain stores and this and that, and you actually had a destination where there was things going on, there was social activities, there were different stores, and it was a destination rather than just a street of closed down stores.
So
and
what's
depression.
happened is that our standards have gone up so much. These days we want wonderful design, wonderful quality, wonderful availability, and low price. And only the big boys with their computerized global systems can do that. So I would say, don't throw any money at the high street. It's money down the drain.
But we don't. I mean, all governments are trying to regenerate inner cities.
Why? The inner cities, sorry.
Yeah, well, they want people to live there.
Yeah, fine.
So what do you do with all these boarded-up shops in the high street?
A lot of them were houses originally, actually. If you look at a shop in a high street, you'll see there's what used to be in the front garden of a house, and behind the shop you can see the actual 19th century house. They should go back to being houses. I mean, good luck with housing, that's wonderful.
Or they can be more innovative, like I've said in the Brighton. There's lots of local people that are aspiring entrepreneurs that can't possibly afford the rates as they stand today. So you could actually take these empty properties, open them up to people, allow them to come in and do exactly what I've said in Brighton.
He doesn't reckon there's the business, really. People don't want it.
Not the business, no. I think shops are wonderful the way they are. They're evolved way out of the high streets. So forget shopping in high street. Think you've got high street, maybe it's a leisure centre. People go for extra classes. You know, it could be a community college.
See, I think there is the business, and I think if you ever did see this story in Brighton, it went from being completely deserted and empty and boarded up and to thriving now.
OK, well, that's almost the city centre. But thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.